This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. That's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Hiring isn't just about finding someone willing to take the job. You need the right person with the right background who can move your business forward. If you want candidates who truly match what you're looking for, trust Indeed Sponsored Jobs. With Indeed Sponsored Jobs, your post stands out to quality candidates who actually fit the role. According to Indeed data, 90% are more likely to be hired and trusted by 1.6 million companies. Spend more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. Now with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring, do it the right way with Indeed.
Well, hello there, and welcome back. My name is Stephanie Safarian, and you're listening to episode 569 of Sustainable Minimalist. This is a listener-supported show about intentional and eco-friendly minimalist living. And on today's show, we are discussing downsizing. Downsizing, even if we have no plans to move. I like to call it the downsizing mindset, which, of course, is a fundamental shift in perspective. It prioritizes less stuff. It prioritizes more free time. It's about consciously being in the habit of reducing the amount of stuff that we own, whether we're moving or not, whether we're downsizing in the near future or not. And the reason, of course, is because, the longer I host this podcast, the further I travel down my own minimalism journey. I'm learning that minimalism's truest and most important lesson is that minimalism teaches each of us what enough is for each of us, right? So it's different. What's enough for me is different than what's enough for you. But minimalism is a tool that helps you determine the amount of stuff and resources that genuinely support your desired lifestyle. And that's the point, right? The point is freedom. Freedom from the time and money constraints that excess stuff imposes on us. Freedom from the desire, the need to follow the herd and do what the herd is doing. That's the point right there. Physical freedom, yes, but also mental freedom. That's why we're discussing the downsizing mindset today, not just for when we're ready to move, but for every day of our lives. Here to help me discuss this and so much more is Tracy Hoth. Tracy is the host of the Organized Coach podcast. She has over 17 years of experience turning chaos into order. Tracy, I'm so thrilled to have you on the show. How are you?
Great, Stephanie. I'm so excited. We're going to have this conversation about organizing.
Yes, and specifically downsizing. I'm not ready to downsize yet, but I dream of it. I dream of getting rid of this house and all of its stuff. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Why don't we start by you telling us who you are, what you do, how you found yourself starting a podcast. Your podcast, once again, is titled The Organized Coach Podcast. Tell me all the details.
Yes. So I was a stay-at-home mom and I wanted to do some work, flexible work. And so I started organizing in people's homes. And I did that for a long time in homes and offices. And then I started speaking on the topic of organization and productivity. And then in 2017, I found coaching. So I got certified in 2018 and realized this whole mindset side of getting organized. And so combining the practical steps with the mindset, I loved it, and I was having so much success with clients and helping them. And I started then moving all online And as I did that, I was like, this is hard to keep all this organized on my computer and finding everything that I need. So I started putting my tools that I used in people's homes and offices into work online. And then I started helping business owners organize their businesses online too. So I still do both. I still help women downsize and organize their homes, and I still help business owners organize the back end of their business. So that's what I do.
That's such an interesting marriage of the two facets of organizing, more professionally and more personally.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you today about downsizing. Usually, people downsize when, their kids move out, they're empty nesters, they don't need this big house anymore. But I'm wondering, too, if you ever work with people who their kids are still young and they realize that the big house is just too overwhelming. It's too big and clutter just fills the home. And maybe a smaller home would mean less stuff, less stress, less to clean, less to maintain. Do you see some sort of shift in the downsizing conversation in which other people are embracing smaller living for more living?
Yes. I think that downsizing in our minds is tied to when you get older. But I think decluttering and organizing is a trend that's people are realizing the benefit of it, of doing it all the time. And I think it's such a habit that you have to create in your life because we get so much coming in. It's coming in through our kids and through now we can have things shipped to our house. It's just coming in all the time. And so you really need to have a practice or a habit of decluttering. And so if you're starting to do that earlier before you're officially downsizing, there's so many benefits to doing that.
Are you saying stay on top of the clutter, continuously declutter? Don't just put the stuff in the basement in the corner or the attic in a corner and say, I'll deal with it later. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and I'm thinking of myself. At least have one location that you put things because we still do that. I have 4 kids and 2 of them are still living at home. They're about to graduate from college. And we have what we call our secret room. It's an attic space and we stick things. So clutter is delayed decisions. We stick things in there because we're delaying the decision of making them, but they're not all over our house. So we have a location that we put the clutter, that we delay all our decisions in there. And just this last weekend, I went in there and cleaned it out and decluttered and organized in that space. But it was nice to have a space because I think in our lives, just realistically, we have busy, like our kids are busy at certain stages in our life. And so we have to have a place or we're transitioning. Like my kids are about to move out. One's about to buy a house. I have some bed frames that I will gladly give them. So those kinds of things are in there because of the transition that we're in. So if you want to stick things and delay decisions, have a location for that versus your entire house.
That's a great tip. Yeah. Don't stick some in the basement, some under the bed. I hear that. Is there anything else that listeners who are in the same stage of life as I am right now, is there anything that they should be doing? And just for everybody who's not sure what stage of life I'm in the stage of life where my children are middle-aged, 11 and 8. I don't even know how old they are, 11 and 8. They are entrenched in the school district. We're not moving in the next 10 years, but I am so excited to downsize when they move out. Like we're here in the suburbs for the children. We will be moving when they leave. Is there anything I and listeners like me should be doing now so that when the downsizing day does come, we're not completely overwhelmed? Anything else we should be doing?
Yeah, I like that you know where you're going. Most people haven't even thought about that. They're just trying to get through or they're just present right here. But you have in your GPS where you want to go. And I think that's super important. So that would be number 1. Think about what you want. Then put a practice in place to continuously get things out of your home. So when you think of downsizing, I tend to think, and this is what I'm excited about doing this year, is setting my home up like I'm going to sell it at any second. And so that's a thought you could have in your head as you're making decisions. Is this room ready to sell, or am I ready to move in this space and create the space, making decisions like you're going to do that? Because then what's going to happen? You're going to let go of the things that you don't need. So that's like traditional downsizing. You're going to get rid of stuff that you don't need, and you're going to make each room clean and minimal to the point that you want it. And so I think that's really good to have that practice in place. Now, I notice, because I have a year program where we go through each area of the home. I think that's important to have something like that, either in your calendar or you're in a program or something, so that you have direction if you're not disciplined to do it on your own. But write down the rooms of your house. Make sure you're going through each room once a month, a room a month, and keep making those decisions and keep going back through it.
Like that. Because not only is that going to make your future life, your future self happy, it's going to make your current self happy too, staying on top of your stuff so that you're actually enjoying your house now in the present. Do I have that right?
Yes, and you're an example. I think about that too as you're raising your kids, teaching them, here's the cycle of life, here's what we do. We get rid of things that we're not using. We're generous and abundant in what we have. We're stewarding it well, and we're letting things go that other people could be using instead of holding on to it. So you're doing that for yourself. You're training yourself as you put that practice into place, but then you're also being an example and training your kids to do that as well.
Okay, so Tracy, you said something earlier that, made a little tick go off in my head saying, ask her about that later. And you said that you had bed frames that you had been saving for one of your children, I believe.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask about that. I want to ask specifically about saving things because they still have utility, they still work, they're still in perfectly decent shape, saving things for our children for when they move out. What is your policy? I don't know if policy is the right word, but what are your thoughts there? Because I can see both sides. I don't want to get rid of stuff that's still working that could be used by my children, but also I don't want to store it for them for the next 2 decades.
I know, that is such a good question. And in this process, since this just happened this weekend, we had been keeping this microwave in our secret room too. I call it our attic space. Sorry. We just have always called it our secret room, our attic space. And I let that go today. I just let the microwave go, thinking most places have microwave. Like, why am I keeping that in there? First of all, so then what makes the bed frame different is that each person does have to just think through and make their decision about it. And my thought about the bed frames is we have twin mattresses that we've had in there as well that we pull out when we have company in town and people get at least a mattress. Like, we've had all the cousins and they've been on mattresses in the basement. So it's been something really great that we've had and we've used a lot. We just let my daughter's boyfriend use it in a house that he was staying in. We set up a bed for him and using those things. So if it's useful, I could see setting twin beds up in one of our spare bedrooms for grandkids to use. And so I think about that, and it's useful, and it's an item that a room would need versus all the excess stuff that you might keep around. So that's such a good question. It's such a good question that each person really does have to make for themselves. And going back to the thought about our kids might want it, I'm very clear that my kids do not want most things. And we have a text strand with our family, and we're texting each other, taking pictures, sending pictures of things. Do you want this? Do you want me to keep this for you? And that kind of thing. So it's really having that conversation started and asking them, like, what do you want to keep? What do you not want to keep? I'll hold it until you get a house and someplace to put it, but not forever, for sure.
We live in a world overflowing with cheap, disposable stuff, and footwear is no different. All too often, the inexpensive or trendy footwear is uncomfortable, and that's because of their narrow, unnatural shapes. The trendy stuff also is cheaply made and often doesn't last, but duck feet Duck feet's different. Since 1975, designed in Denmark and handcrafted with old-world craftsmanship, Duck Feet makes leather shoes and boots that are foot-shaped. Each pair is lovingly built with durable, natural Italian crepe soles and sustainably made, socially conscious Terracare leather. They are resolable, which means you can keep a pair of duck feet for the rest of your life, and many people do. Just check out the thousands of 5-star reviews on their website. I have a pair of boots from Duck Feet. They're so comfortable. I can walk miles in them, and I happily do. They break in, they mold, they stretch to your foot, they build character and memories along the way. Stop buying disposable footwear. Head to duckfeetusa.com and use code MAMAMinimalist for $50 off your first pair. That's duckfeetusa.com with code MAMAMinimalist for $50 off your first pair. Well, as you're talking there, Tracy, I'm thinking about how I'm talking about downsizing as this wonderful weight lifting off of my shoulder future event. But for many of your clients, I'm assuming downsizing can be a time of real mixed emotions. So how do you help your clients deal with a lifetime of memories that come up during the downsizing process?
That is such a good point, too. And we all have this fantasy, like we're going to downsize and it's going to be great. And we're going to be living free. And then we get to the point and we look at something and we're like, I got to now make a decision on this. And that is hard. And I think making the decisions is made easier when first we know where we're going. So we have a clear picture. We have a GPS address that we can put into our GPS so that we know where we're going. I think that's the first thing. And then I think it's helpful to make little rules before we even start. What does downsizing look like to me? What do I see in each of the rooms of my house? What am I going to use? How many of these things am I going to keep? So just a simple example, and this not necessarily related to downsizing, but socks. Like, how many short socks do I need? And this is before you open your sock drawer. You decide, how many do I think the person that I'm becoming or that I am in my future, how many socks do they need? Then when you go to that space, it's all of a sudden really simple. You're like, oh, I'm picking my favorite 8 short socks and done. Boom. And so it's like a simple flow chart that you're going to use because you know where you're going and you have some rules set up. And you can make that will help you make the decisions in the moment.
I can imagine too, if you knew quite physically the location, not just the location, but the layout of where you're going to, and you know it's a 2-bedroom condo and you only need 2 beds and you have room for 1 sofa and 1 side table, then it really becomes about choosing the best side table out of X amount that you have now. But what about when family members disagree about what's going and what's going out, saying goodbye? How do you deal with the disagreement factor amongst many opinions?
Yes. I'm working with a couple right now that they have a lot of those disagreements. They think differently about lots of things. And I just think it takes a lot of conversations. And also defining spaces in your future home. Like, you get a bedroom, I get a bedroom. You can do with what you want in that bedroom. Make it a music room, make it whatever you want. And I get this space, and this is where I get to make my decision. So separating those things and how you see yourself so that you have the freedom to make the decisions on what you want, but literally containing it so you both are happy in the shared rooms that you're using, but lots of conversations.
I want to go back to the parents, maybe parents of young children right now, who they know their kids are going to grow up. And let me just pause here and say my 11-year-old is now in middle school and something changed overnight and she is no longer a little girl and now she's a tween with an attitude. And her attitude has ushered in for me the realization that, oh my gosh, she's growing up, and oh my gosh, she's 11 and a half. In 7 years, she's gone. She's leaving in just 7 years. Like, how did that happen? And I feel like what's the saying? The days are long, but the years are short. And so
Mhm.
for her to be growing up so rudely, she's just growing up so rudely. It really shows me that, yeah, the days are long as a parent, but the years are flying by. And so when I look at her mementos, her school projects, her awards, her artwork, I'm always struggling with what to keep and what to put up on the wall for a little bit and then throw out. In the past, I've been pretty militant about it. I keep only the best of the best. And I do that because when I moved out, my mom gave me the big plastic totes full of just about everything I ever created in my childhood. And I didn't want it. I didn't want any of it. I looked through it. I took one pass down memory lane, let's say, and then I threw a lot of it out. So for my children, I'm fairly militant. I do keep stuff, but I have conversations with them about what we're keeping. And now, so I'm bringing my story back around. This is a really long story, but now that my child's 11 and she's leaving soon, I'm wondering, wait a minute, where are all those things I threw out? Where are all those things that she made when she was 3 in preschool? And I'm having second thoughts. So that's the story. The question is, what should parents be keeping and what should they be tossing? And I want a definitive answer for all the parents like me who are just really feeling regretful.
Oh, there's so many things in that. And I love, first of all, that you brought up the fact that your parents gave you all those things, because I've worked with so many clients and their parents give them tons of stuff that they don't want. And so I am always on the side of give your child less things because they're going to have to make decisions. Now, for you, you're able to get rid of all that stuff you didn't want. So many people have such a hard time getting rid of it. They think their mom saved it, so they should keep it. So it's a lot harder. So I think erring on the side of less is always better, because those things you're going to give to your daughter now are super special because you've been really specific or selective on what you've kept. The other thing is, you make the decision right. Now your thought, like you've made the decision, you've been happy with the decision, and now your thoughts, because of the changes of her stage, your thoughts are like, maybe I shouldn't have. Where's all the things I should have kept? I wish I would have done that. We're making the decision wrong now, and we have to be really intentional that we make sure our mindset stays on making that decision right. I'm so grateful. She is going to love the fact that I saved the most special things. She's not going to be spending all her time going through things, and keep intentionally thinking thoughts that make that decision. So those two things I wanted to address. But then what should we keep and what should we let go of? I like to define an amount of space or a tub or an amount of tubs or whatever that you're going to keep the things that you want to keep. And so with my kids, we would pull out their memory tub and put the things that we wanted to keep into it. And we would see, this is really full. I would show my kids, this is the amount of space you have to keep the things that are special. I want you to go back through this and see, is there anything you want to let go of? Because now you have something more special that you want to fit in there and it's getting full. And so just having those times, which they were always so fun. We made them fun. We pulled out all their memory bins and we looked through them and we said, okay, is there anything you can get rid of? And then they would let go of more. And so again, you're showing them, this is how much space I have. I can keep whatever I want, but I get to decide how I want to fill this and if the things that I'm keeping are going to fit or not.
Yeah, I like that. And I'll say a couple things. Number one is, when I got the totes full of junk, I say junk, my childhood.
Memories.
Yeah, memories. The totes full of my childhood, essentially. It was really just stuff that was thrown in the bins, thrown in over the years. And so going back to what you said, keeping stuff is unmade decisions, let's say. I feel like for my mom, she just threw all my stuff in these bins as a means of not making difficult decisions. I try to be more intentional now that I'm the mom. And if we're keeping stuff, we're not just throwing it in a bin. Maybe we're displaying it, because I believe that artwork, especially, is meant to be enjoyed. It's not going to be enjoyed if it's sitting in a box, getting all musty and yellowed corners for the next 18 years. So we hang it up. When we're done with hanging it up, then we decide what we're going to do with it. But I wonder too if there's something to be said for not just throwing it all in a bin. Like I'm not as great as organizing as I am as decluttering, but I'm sure a little Pinterest search can come up with a bazillion different ways to organize this stuff, so that when our children do get their own house and we do give them all the totes, it's not a big, unmanageable, stress-inducing pile for them. It's actually an enjoyable walk down memory lane.
Yes. And I love the whole idea of that. And there's just this, this tension in the middle of that, to know for yourself where that line is, and to have such compassion, because some people are really good at making decisions. Other people have such a hard time making decisions when it comes to that. So whatever you as mom decides, to make it clear so that you have a framework of what your decision is, versus just don't decide and throw things in. So having that thought out ahead of time, and then following your plan when it comes to that. But yes, I think of artwork and how I've seen different clients make books of their kids' artwork from taking pictures of it, and then they were able to let it go. Or keeping a shelf, if your house allows for that, like someone had shelves on an upper level of their house, and they could display some of the clay creations that their kids made. Where other people, I don't have any shelves in our house, so I don't have a space to create that or to display that. So it really does depend on the container that you have as your home and what it looks like. And like my mother-in-law gave my husband a box, and we had such a good time with our kids going through that and seeing his pencil collection and seeing he had all these little trinkety things that were fun that my kids really loved looking at, which was fun to see his childhood and what he was interested in. So it can be fun, but it is in a tub, and he was able to get rid of some stuff. But I think he still has one tub downstairs that has odd little things that he kept as a child. So is that okay? Everyone gets to decide, and we do have the space. Now, if we're going to downsize even more and we might not have the storage area that we do now, could he get rid of that? I think so. So it's so interesting. Everybody's different, and their lives are different, and their decisions are different. And it's all okay. It's just being intentional about what yours is.
Well, Tracy, for listeners who are hearing our conversation right now and they have been putting off downsizing for likely for the reason that their home is a lifetime of unmade decisions, essentially. They know the job is going to be very daunting. Physically daunting, yes, we got to move all this stuff, but also emotionally daunting, mentally draining. They're putting it off because maybe they just don't have the bandwidth right now. What would you say to them?
I would say pick one area, and maybe it doesn't matter what the area is, but pick an area and think of it like a project. You're going to spend 30 days, not every single day, but you're going to spend 1 month where you're going to go through that one area, and you're going to follow the organizing steps, which my organizing steps, they spell the word space. So you're going to sort, purge, assign homes, contain, and then energize. You're going to look at all of that and have energy then that's not that heavy weight weighing you down, and you're going to maintain that one space. And I think about that because having that as a project, having that planned on your calendar and looking at that one space and accomplishing that is huge. And that's it. Ignore all the rest of it and concentrate on the one space that you're going to do. I think that's really important to think of it like a project that you're going to start and finish and notice when you ask that question how it's daunting and it's overwhelming. And all of those things are thoughts that we are tying to downsizing. And what if instead we thought, okay, I'm so excited. This is going to free me up. This is going to be so lightening. I am going to make decisions and move toward the future and create my house to be the home that I love, that's light and free. And when I think about it like that, my chest gets lifted and I feel so excited about it versus me believing that it's really overwhelming and daunting. And so just notice how you're thinking about it when you start the project as well. And if you just took one room at a time and had that light feeling of accomplishing this space and decluttering and downsizing this room, it could change everything. And you could go on to do each room in your home.
I love that, Tracy. You're so right. Like, mindset is everything. My grandmother she just lived that, right? When she downsized, she talked about all the things she was looking forward to, not having gigantic energy bills to heat and cool this big house, not having excess rooms that she didn't use that she had to clean. Having less space meant having more time to live and enjoy all of her hobbies. She was never saying, "Oh, I'm so sad to leave this house with all the memories." She never said that. She was looking forward and she was optimistic about looking forward. And so I appreciate you saying that because that's a lesson we can all learn, whether we're downsizing or not, right? Change our mindset with whatever life change or decision we're making. So before we say goodbye, Tracy, in my Googling of you, one thing came up over and over again. So I'm going to ask about it. And the thing that came up over and over again was your 15-minute declutter challenge. I need to know, what is it? Because it's all over the internet.
Oh, I like hearing that because it's fairly new. Yes, I created the 15-minute declutter challenge and it uses the SPACE acronym, the steps to organizing. So it explains the steps and it teaches you how to do 15 minutes and how it takes you from stuck to started. So you could completely finish a space in 15 minutes, or you could keep doing the 15-minute challenge to complete a space. And what's been so exciting about this is I have Organized Life Academy and I gave it to all the women in there and said, okay, I want you guys to start doing that. We even made some special appointments where we worked on our 15-minute challenge and they have been sending before and after pictures. They have been, I don't know, it's just amazing how excited they are and how it's moving them forward and how they're accomplishing so much more than they thought was possible and getting more than they thought done in the 15 minutes. Like they're amazed that they could get as much done as they did when they set the timer. And we're on the timer, so I can see the timer and what they're accomplishing. And it's just been so fun. So if you're feeling that heaviness, that overwhelm, you're not sure where to start, it's free. Download the 15-minute declutter challenge and try it.
Awesome. I'll link to it in the show notes, but thank you so much. Tracy, where can we find all of you, your goodness, your website, your podcast? Tell us all your details.
Yes, my business is simplysquaredaway.com. That's my website. You can find everything on there. My podcast is the Organized Coach podcast. We just hit over 100K downloads. It's in the top 1%. So I'm super excited about that. And if you're ready to declutter, you can join Organized Life Academy. You can find that on my website and get the declutter challenge. It's at simplysquaredaway.com/declutter.
Tracy, thank you so much. What a conversation. You brought the content and I really appreciate it. So thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Listeners, that's a wrap. My friends' show notes are at mamaminimalist.com/569. Anything you need that we discussed today is right there awaiting you in the show notes. I have no outro today except to say, if you have an eco tip, send it my way. My email is in the show notes. I'd love to feature it on an upcoming episode. If you need me, reach out. And otherwise, I'll see you next week, and take care.